You wake up, sore from the previous activity and a bit groggy. You try to move, but find yourself incapable. Struggling futilely, you thrash around and realize your arms and legs are strapped down with heavy iron restraints. You gasp out loud when you look down and discover your much larger tits, wobbling with every twist and movement you make. You're stark naked, save for a sheer and somewhat perverse nurse's outfit. The room around you looks to be empty, though you can see a number of blankets piled in the corners as a few cages full of spooge covered fairies, all snoring contently. Eventually, a lone imp enters the room. It's Zataz. He looks up. He looks up and down, and decrees, "You're ready." You struggle to shout him out, but all that escapes the gag in your mouth is incomprehensible gibberish. He chuckles and flips a switch on the wall, and suddenly the most heavenly vibration begins within your soaping twat. Your eyes cross at the pleasure as your mind struggles to figure out why it feels so good. Zataz pours a few bottles into a larger container and connects a tube into an opening at the bottom of the bottle. Your eyes trace the tube back to the gag in your mouth, and after feeling around with your tongue, you realize it's been threaded through the gag and down your throat. Zataz lifts up the bottle and hangs it from a hook in the ceiling, and you watch in horror as fluid flows down the tube, helpless to stop it. Um, helpless to stop it. You shake your head desperately, furious at having fallen to the little fucker's hands at last. Zataz walks up and paws at your larger mounds, flitting flitting into the air to bring himself to eye level. "It's good to see you again, Jasmine. Because of you, I had to flee from my honored palace by Lethe's side. Lethes, I don't know the villain's name. I've had to hide in this fetid forest. I'll admit, it hasn't been all bad. We've caught a few fairies to play with, and with you here, the boys and I will have lots of fun. We just need to reshape that troubled mind a little bit." You barely register his monologue. You're far too busy coming on the vibrating intruder that's currently giving your stuff snatch the workout of a lifetime. Zataz chuckles at your vacant stare and massages your temples gently. You feel the touch of his dark magic inside you. It feels warm and wet, matching the feel of your body's other intrusion. You try to fight it, and for a moment you feel like you might push the demon out of your mind. Then your body comes, and your resistance melts away. You violently thrash against your restraints, caving into the pleasure as the imp rapes your body and mind as one. The desire to protect your village drips out between your legs, and thoughts of your independence are fucked away into nothing. It feels good to come, and your eyes cross when you see the bulge of your master's crotch, indicative of how well you're pleasing him. It feels good to obey. Zataz suddenly kisses you, and you enthusiastically respond in between orgasms. You gladly live out the rest of your life, fucking and birthing imps over and over as their live-in broodmother. Game over. Well then, I thought I could take him on. Turns out I couldn't. Your thoughts?
Wow.
None? You fell silent.
I'm sorry. That was amazing.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
That was like a religious experience.
Well, hopefully I can beat it the next time. But yeah, I'll be right back, viewers. Hey, well, I was able to beat them again. Yeah, so let's see. The last of the imps collapses into a pile of his defeated comrades. You're not sure how you managed to win a lopsided fight, but it's a testament to your newfound prowess that you succeeded at all. Feeling a bit horny, you wonder if you should use them to sate your building urges before moving on. Do you rape them? Well, yeah, my lust is at 94 right now. So, rape. You walk around to one of the demons and push him onto his back. Your red high society bodysuit falls to the ground around you as you disrobe, looking over your tiny conquest. ripping motion disposes of his tiny loincloth, leaving his thick demon tool totally unprotected. You grab and squat down towards it, rubbing the corrupted tool between your legs as you become more and more aroused. It parts your lips and slowly slides in. The ring of tainted nodules tickles you just right as you take the oddly textured member further and further into your willing depths. At last, you feel it bottom out, bumping against your cervix with the tiniest amount of pressure. Grinning like a cat with the cream, you swivel your hips, grinding your pleasure buzzer against him in triumph. You begin riding the Timon Demon, lifting up and then dropping down, feeling each of the nodes gliding along your sex-lubed walls. As time passes and your pleasure mounts, you pick up the pace until you're bouncing happily atop your living demon dildo. The two of you come together, though the demon's pleasure starts first. A blast of his tainted seed pushes you over the edge. You sink the whole way down, feeling him bump your cervix and twitch inside you, the bumps of his dick swelling and pulsating wave in time with each explosion of fluid. Cunt juices drip down his shaft, oozing off his balls to a puddle underneath him. The two of you lie together, trembling happily as you're filled to the brim with tainted fluids. Sated for now, you rise up, body dripping with gooey whiteness, though in retrospect it isn't nearly as much as was poured into your womb. Okay, so yeah, I guess we'll continue later. Have a good day. Hey, I'm ready to go back to the cave and finish off Zetaz, actually. Just go north into the cave, or I was already here, east. In the far corner, there is a small woman, her back to you, hanging limply by manacles that keep her suspended in a half-kneel. Rich purple hair hangs in long clump strands, and that sparkle occasionally with a pink glitter. Above her, there is a tarnished bronze nameplate that reads Vala, but it is impossible to tell for sure under all the imp graffiti. She does not seem to be conscious. It isn't until you get closer that you notice the large dragonfly wings to her back and the infernal glow of sunlight faintly radiating from her pale skin. If the girl wasn't almost 4 feet tall, you'd swear she was a fairy, like the ones you've met in the forest. If the cum-clogged drain in the center of the room is any indication, the imps must be using her for their perverted desires. You begin to get an appreciation for what she's endured when you get near enough to see the small black marks staining her luminance. On her right shoulder blade, the imps have tattooed pussy, and on the left, ass. All along her back, the imps have tattooed 2 columns of harsh marks, from her shoulders all the way down to her ribs, over her ass, down her legs, and even to the soles of her feet. You step around her and are startled to see that while the Fey girl is whip thin, her breasts are disproportionately huge. They'd be at least a double D cup on a normal human, but for her height and body type, they're practically as large as her head. They jiggle at her slow, uneven breathing, tiny drops of milk bubbling at her nipples with every heartbeat. If she weren't chained to the ceiling, you suspect she wouldn't be able to stand under her own power. Her eyes are open, but she's staring blankly ahead. Unaware of the world around her, pupils constrict to pinpricks amid the ocean of her dull pink irises. Like this, she's no threat to anybody. You suppose you could let her go, though it's unclear if she's self-aware enough to even move. Alternative, you could blow off a little steam. I will free her. You search the room for a way to free the fairy from her shackles and find an ugly iron key that looks like a promising candidate. Opening the rusted metal with a teeth-clenching screech, the girl slumps to the ground in an ungainly heap. The fall seems to have roused her, at least because she blinks slowly several times before lifting her head to stare blankly at you. You try to explain that she's free, but it's clear that thoughts are traveling through a pretty thick haze of abuse, so you take a moment to let her gather herself. When she's managed to assemble that what wits are left of her, she slowly curls her mouth and hope in a hopeful smile. "How can bitch please, master?" she asks in an innocent voice tainted by husky desire. As you bend down to comfort the girl and offer her a shoulder to lean on as you help her to her feet. As you expected, the weight of her milky tits nearly surpasses the rest of her body. She clings to you happily, stroking and rubbing her bare skin against your body. She is adamantly ignoring your efforts to dissuade her amorous advances, merely cooing "master" and "pleasure" over and over again. If you had the right materials, you might be able to mix something to heal the damage her captors have done to the fairy's mind. Well, I have the purity pearl, so that makes things a bit quicker.